All right, guys, welcome and thank you for joining today. Betsy and I are excited to show the ways that we can feed automated data from Blackbaud's advanced lists into Google Sheet using some Google Apps script code. Um, as I noted in the email that I sent to everyone this morning, if this is just way too complicated and you don't want to mess with this, Nick Marchese has done some, Marchese, I'm sorry, Nick, mispronounced your name, has done some amazing work on automating a lot of these steps. He charges, I think it's $500 a year for a subscription. So if you see this and say that's not for me, but you still want to use the tools, reach out to Nick. I sent the link to his site. He does awesome work. But if you follow the steps that we are working on today, the hope is that you can just get this set up and running in your own space. So without any more delay, let's dive in. My name is Matt Clemens. I see a lot of familiar faces and friendly names in the Zoom. I'm an independent consultant. I work with schools on a wide range of data management projects. In a past life, I worked for Blackbaud for 5 years, did implementation work, managed a consulting team, did a lot of integration stuff. Just over 14 years ago, I left to start my own consulting business. And now I spend 97% of my time working with schools on a wide range of data projects. Over the past couple of years, that's transitioned almost entirely into leveraging data feeds from education management, the Razor's Edge, and the Financial Edge via the Sky API into Microsoft's Power BI toolset to build integrated reporting that pulls data from a wide range of spaces. So that's a little bit about me. I'm thrilled to have Betsy Sidebottom with us today as well. And I'm going to switch it up and make Betsy the host so that we can jump over to her machine and do it. I'm actually in Betsy's office this morning or this afternoon. So here we are. I'm going to unmute Betsy and make her the host and then
Then
turn off
turn on
my
my
mic.
mic.
Can you hear me now? Oh,
Oh, hold on. Sorry, my bad. How about now?
how about now? How do I sound? All right. Jesse, give me a thumbs up. Can you hear us? All right. All right, I'm gonna let Matt come back over here.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, hey, I'm Betsy Sidebottom. I'm the Director of Information Services at Ashley Hall here in Charleston. Yeah, I'm new in this role for the last year, but I've been our LMS SIS manager for the last, I don't know, 8 years. So I'm usually at BBCon, so say hi next time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Betsy.
Yeah.
So really, we're just going to dive right in. And this morning, the goal is to really walk from start to finish through the steps that we can take to automate some data flows from Blackbaud's advanced lists out to Google Feeds. And really, I want to start with just some basics. So I'm going to share. Oh, I disabled screen sharing. Hold on. Let me open that up to Betsy. Excuse me.
Me again. I'm just going to use an example of how we're going to use this. I have a dean who's also a math teacher in our upper school of 11th through 12th grade. And one thing for them, he's created this elaborate Google sheet that color codes attendances by class per student, how many times a student has missed biology, how many times they've missed French, and it's different colors based on all these parameters. And right now, he and the other dean, they pull this data over every Monday morning for the week before. And this process today is now going to take away that step, and it's going to automate the data to flow straight from the list into his Google Sheet, and it'll update whatever time parameter you put on it. So that's why I'm excited about this. So back to you.
All right, thank you, Betsy. And Betsy and I met in person for the first time at BBCon a month ago. I swung through her office on Monday just to do a quick little dry run and make sure we know what we're doing here. Now I'm going to share and hope, there we go. Perfect.
All sorts of stuff open. Ignore it all.
Awesome. All right. So are you guys seeing the screen with the mountains right now? Okay. Thank you for the nods. That's helpful. So really the very first thing we want to do is log into Blackbaud and just make sure that we've got a list that we're able to use. So in setting, we're talking through this attendance piece on Monday. we set up a advanced list that's pulling every upper school attendance entry from the current academic year. And so let's just find, what do we call that? No, gotta remember what we call this. Attendance US, there we go. So we have already built this list. That's really the very first step, is getting a list set up within Blackbaud. While we're in Blackbaud, a couple other things that we just want to double check. Right now we're logged in as Betsy. So I want to just make sure that Betsy has access to the Sky API roles that are going to enable us to feed that data out through the API. So I'm going to jump to security. Actually, we'll go straight to Betsy. Let's go to Betsy's record. Record. I'm going to go into her role membership. And Betsy has the keys to the kingdom. But we just want to make sure that we've got these Sky API Basic and Sky API Data Sync. One of those two drives it. I'm not even sure which, but if you have access to both of those roles, that will enable everything to flow cleanly through. There were a million questions in the initial Google form that you guys filled out. I'm going to get to those in the last half after we've gone through these steps. And I hope you guys will have a lot of live questions as well. So I will unmute the room when we get a little bit later into the session. But I can see that Betsy has the necessary permissions. Another really important point here, when we're managing the lists, we just need to make sure that any list that we want to feed, the user who's feeding it at least has run access to that list. So if the list was created by someone else on your campus, just make sure that you as a user have run access to the list. Even if you can impersonate them and see it and edit it, that will not allow that data to flow through the API. It's got to be one that you actually have access to. So that's the first couple of things that we're doing within the this Blackbaud universe itself. The next thing we're going to do is look at the Sky API settings. Do we have some users, and give me some nods or some smiles if you have a Sky developer account set up? Anybody? I see some nods. Yeah, okay. A lot of you probably don't. I'm going to assume that, you know, if we're living in the software every day, we may not have the developer account set up. So what we're going to look at now is just how do we actually set up our Sky developer account? And it will take us about 10 seconds to do. So we're going to go to, I'm going to just Google Sky API. And that will bring up the Blackbaud Sky developer area. From here, if I don't have an account, I can literally just click sign up. I can use my Blackbaud ID to create that account, and then I'm off and running. So in our case, Betsy already has one set up, which is perfect. But if you don't have one, go ahead and click sign up, and let's just make sure that that works. Once we have that account, we're going to need a couple different things. So if we look at Betsy's subscriptions here, we can see that she has a primary access key and a secondary access key. What we're going to use today is her primary access key. Because we're recording this, as soon as we wrap up our call today, we're going to regenerate it. So I don't want you to feel like you can accidentally stumble into Betsy's data if you copy and paste what we're using here. So we're going to wipe that clean as soon as we wrap up today. But the fact that I can see that there is a key, we're going to need that in just a few minutes. Also, we need to create an app within the Sky developer universe. And that is really scary if you haven't done it before. But the reality is it takes us another 30 seconds to get it up and running.
It's quick.
It is. Yeah, we did it Monday and it was like, all right, is that all? Is that really all we had to do? So within the developer account section, we're going to go to My Applications. And some of you may have some things here. If you do, great. If you don't, great. We set this up a couple days ago, but we're going to set up a fresh one now just so we can completely walk through what those steps look like. So I'm going to choose a new application and we're going to call it Core Data Live Demo. The details, we have to put something in there. And then the application website, we can put in anything here. It's if I was a developer and I was trying to push this to 600 different clients, this would direct them to my website when they tried to register this account. We just need something here, so we'll just do. Is it .org?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then once I've done that, I'm gonna hit save. And now I have an app. So a couple little things that I've got to do here. And for now, we're going to grant team access. Some of this gets a little bit stickier if you have multiple developers on your team. In our case, I think Betsy, actually, what did we do here? I think we just canceled. Yeah, there we go. But once that is built, two things that we have to do within this app. The first one is to give a redirect URL so that this app is able to go in and actually fetch data from the Blackbaud site. We're going to come back to that in just a little bit. But the first thing that we're going to do while we're here is edit the scope of what information is this app able to access. And in this case, I don't want to touch anything merchant services. I don't want to touch Razor's Edge. I don't want to be able to accidentally write back to education management. We're going to edit the scope. We're going to say limited access. And then we're going to choose education management, read only. So I do not want to accidentally write or delete anything in the database. I just want to be able to pull information out. So we're going to hit save there. And most of our work is now done on this app side. So a couple more things that we'll need to do. We'll need to create a Google Sheet that's going to house the data that we're feeding from Blackbaud out to Google Sheets. Okay, there we go. I jump to Google Drive. We're just going to create a new sheet. Oops. And actually, Betsy, let's go grab, where's that one that we did before? Do you remember where we saved that?
Not at all.
We'll look in recent. It's probably there somewhere.
When were we
Here we go.
together Monday?
Got it. Data. Awesome. All right. And the reason I'm doing this is we just need to make sure that the headers on this are exactly the same as what we are seeing here. So what I'm going to do, I've got a list name. And actually, we'll just copy these exactly. But the formatting needs to be exactly what you're seeing here. So capital list, no space, capital name is going to be my first column. And I'm going to jump to that next one. The next column is going to be lowercase list, capital ID. And this is just me being lazy and writing the code. The next column is row count, and then the next is last run date.
I'm impressed you typed this and don't copy.
Yeah, I just want to, I want to have excuses if it doesn't work. And then the other really important thing here, rather than this just being named sheet 1, we need to change the name of that to list IDs with capital L in list, then no space, then capital ID, lowercase s. So I'm going to rename the same thing here. Okay, so now we've got this sheet that is going to house this data that's coming out of Blackbaud. So everything, and actually let's just name it. We'll call it core data live demo. Next set of steps, or where some people get a little bit scared of this, but it's really not that scary. I shared a code snippet in the email earlier today. I want you to ignore that because I had somebody tell me that I had an extra space somewhere that is going to throw some things off. So instead of going to get that, I'm going to have you go back to the meeting invite. And then if we go to,
That's on your...
oh, I'm sorry, hold on, where are we at? Oh.
Behind there.
It's behind here. Thank you. In the meeting invite itself, there's a linked document. So if you jump into this guy, this link to code snippets at the very top, you guys seeing that? Okay, awesome. We're going to click that. I've cleaned up my typo in this piece. And we're going to refer back to this in just a minute. So this is the code that we're going to build into a Google Apps script file, which will eventually serve as a library for another embedded app script in that Google Sheet. And if that's Greek, fantastic. If that makes sense, also fantastic. But we'll walk through exactly what those steps look like. So with that here, I'm going to jump out to a fresh tab, and I'm just going to search Google Apps Script. And first thing that comes up is this Google Apps Script space. We're going to click into that. If we already have an account, wonderful. If not, it will leverage your Google ID and enable you just to set up a AppScript developer account. So from here, I'll just say get started. Since we're logged in as Betsy in the browser, it recognizes who we are. I'm going to say get started. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to do that. Let me go back. Hold on. Let me go straight to app scripts. I'm sorry. There we go. I'm sorry. So here's the page that we're looking for. And I'm going to choose to sign in up in the top right. All right, so now we should be able to just start scripting. And we can see Betsy's picture on the side, so it recognizes that we're logged in. We can see the demo work that we did, or the sample work we did on Monday as we were setting this up. But what I'm going to do now is create a new project in here.
Side note, we are under the music recital hall, so if you hear singing or stomping from above, I'm sorry. It can be kind of noisy.
That's a nice background noise. So once we're here, what we're going to do is go back to that linked document, and I'm just going to copy everything from this all the way down until I hit that little line. I think I've got the line somewhere in here. Did I go too far? I'm sorry. Thank you. There we go. I'm going to highlight it, copy it, and then I'm going to jump straight into that untitled project, and I'm going to paste it in there. And so now I'm seeing the script that was copied over directly. 3 items in here that you guys will need to update. I've got 2 pieces from the app itself that we just built, and then 1 from the actual Sky subscription. So we'll just look at where we can go to grab that information. If I go back to here, I'm in my app itself right now. I'm going to copy this app ID. And then back in here, I'm going to paste that here. So overwrite the client ID from app. Then I'm going to go back to my primary application secret. Copy that. We're going to overwrite the client secret from app. And then the Sky subscription piece, we're going to pull that from your actual developer account. So not from the app itself, but from your Sky developer account. And that's the one. If I go into developer account, my subscriptions. We're going to copy the primary access key here. And then we're going to paste that in here. All right. Before this can actually start pulling data, we need to add a library file that enables us to use the OAuth connection tools. And to do that, in row 4 of this code, I'm going to copy this library ID. I'm going to add that as a library to this script. So I'm going to click plus next to add library. I'm going to paste the script ID. And I think it's version 43 that it's going to show us here. Beautiful. We'll just say add. And now it's able to use a lot of that functionality that's tied to that piece. Now we're just going to do a couple things just to see if we can get this to work. So we're going to call this the list library file. I'm going to save it. I'm going to actually save this project. And then we're going to just run through some things and make sure that we're able to connect to the Sky developer account. So this first thing we're going to do, I've got a handful of entries showing up here. Most of them you're going to ignore aside from this very, very initial setup. Once everything's up and running, we don't think about this again until Blackbaud changes some of the API endpoints, which hopefully this one will continue to work indefinitely. This is where you reach out to Nick and say, hey, this is too hard for me. Why don't I just pay you to do this for me instead? So we're going to run the do get. Okay, good. So when I do that, it's saying authorization is required. So we need to make sure that we are able to feed data. So it's saying, all right, we are Betsy. We're giving permission for this to use our Google account. That do get, it was able to authenticate against the Blackbaud credentials. The next thing we're going to actually, I'll do the get BB service as well. Just want to make sure that runs. Okay, that ran. We can see the execution log on the bottom. We'll get some sort of an error if those steps are not working as we're working through it. And then really this next one is a really important piece. The show RD is going to give us the redirect link that we'll be able to embed in our app, which is what's going to let this information flow through. So I'm going to choose show RD. I'm going to click run. And then notice that it gives me this link down below. So I'm just going to copy this little guy. And then I'm going to go back into my app itself, my Sky developer account app that we just built. And then this core data live demo, I'm going to jump into this guy. And this edit redirect URLs that we mentioned earlier, we're just going to paste that directly into here. And then we'll hit save. And now this is a fully functioning app that we're going to be able to use. Couple more things that we need to do. We need to, even though Betsy built this app, we are standing inside of Ashley Hall right now. We are Blackbaud Ashley Hall users. We need to make sure that this app is authorized within Betsy's domain to act within the Blackbaud marketplace setup. So we're going to copy the app ID, and we're going to go out to the Blackbaud marketplace. So from here, we're going to go to marketplace. I've worked with several schools on this where when users jump in here, they don't have the ability to manage apps. So if you get to this space and you don't see that manage button, somebody on your campus has it. Whoever's able to connect some external app is going to have this access. Betsy with the keys to the kingdom here has everything. So we're going to choose manage. And we're going to just say we want to connect an app. We're going to paste that app ID. It's got read permissions to education management. All good. We'll say connect. And that's just going to make it so that our Blackbaud data is authorized to flow through this app out to the Google Apps Script side of things. So this go to application website. That's the website link it was looking for. That would just take us to the home page. We can just hit close once we've done that step. At this point, we have done everything we need to do within this app script. Where is it? Here we go. What we're going to do is deploy it out so that it can be used as a web app that the app script that is embedded within the Google Sheet is able to reference as it's going in and pulling the data. Really, the reason that we do this is I don't want your Blackbaud IDs of your app or your Sky user account to be embedded directly in that Google Sheet, just in case other users are using it. This keeps it behind the scenes. We can use it as a library account, but nobody can actually see this information once we've taken this step to make it a library, where we can still call these functions from the embedded app script in the Google Sheet, but nobody can see what's actually in this file. So at this point, we're going to deploy. We'll do a new deployment. And then the deployment type, we're going to call it a web app. And the description, I call it Sky API. Right now it's set so that only Betsy can run this. In theory, we could open it to more users, but generally, I don't like to go too far with this, just with the subscription keys living in there. I'm going to choose deploy. And then I'm going to click into that web app URL. And what this is going to do is prompt me to authorize this app for use within the Blackbaud environment. So having added it to the marketplace, it recognizes that this is a potentially valid call that we're making. And now when I authorize it, it's going to say, all right, that core data live demo app that we just built, I'm going to choose authorize. And then we're able to feed that information out. So success, you can close this out. Wonderful. We're going to close it. Close this guy. And then from here, I'll say done, and I'm done with my work at this point. This was one-time setup. I've got everything in place. Everything's working. So what I'm going to do is go into my project settings. And I'm going to grab the script ID here because I need this. And actually, I'm going to keep this open for now because I'm going to do another copy paste into the embedded app script in the Google Sheet. We're going to come back to this in just a moment, but let's go to the core data live demo. And then from within Google Sheets, and a lot of you have probably never looked at this, but we have that option within extensions to choose app script. I'm going to pull extensions, then choose app script. Again, I'm logged in as Betsy, so it recognizes that we're still Betsy here. Actually, you know what I can do? I'll do that now. I just need to call that other script as a library within this script. So I'm going to go to that list library file. I'm going to copy that ID. I can do that now. I'm going to jump into here and say that I want to add a library here. And this is just saying that this script is able to call functions from the other script that we just wrote. So we're going to go into libraries. We're going to paste the script ID. We're going to look it up. We'll say that we want to pull version 1. And then this identifier, I'm going to change this to Sky API, all lowercase. And that's really important. Otherwise, you'd have to adjust a whole bunch of the code in the scripts that I shared. So we'll choose add. And that's now available in the background. We'll name this project. We'll call this or list feeds. And then we're going to go back to that doc that's linked in the meeting invite. And we're going to grab the bottom half of the code. So below, this guy here, made some notes about what those column headers need to be. If you weren't writing them down, they're marked in here. But we've already done some of that legwork. We're going to copy all this. And then we're going to paste that into here, and overwrite the function. And what this is doing is, going into that spreadsheet, looking at the list IDs that we've pulled, looking at the name that we've given each of those lists. I'm not natively pulling the list name from Blackbaud. A lot of times those get big and long and wonky if we've got 14 years with the same list. We're naming it directly within the Google Sheets file, just so we've got some control over what it is. But having done all this, I'm going to save it. And then we'll go back into this guy. And I'm just going to go straight back into Blackbaud. I could steal it from this one, but I don't want to do that just so we can see exactly what this looks like. We'll go back into core. We're going to get the ID of that list. It's this attendance US 2526. Actually, for now, Betsy, I'm going to take names out just so we're not accidentally throwing out your student names in here. Just wipe those out. But the list building, I know a lot of times that can be some of the most difficult part is getting a list that gives valid data. I have spent probably 5,000 hours building advanced lists over the past 15 years. So I can do them in my sleep, but I know that it is a very, very steep learning curve. So if I'm able to help, even with that stage of the process, once you've got everything else running, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I've got some other great resources I can bring in as well if you want some help getting the lists to give the data that we actually want to see. So we've got that list there. I'm going to just save and exit. There's no other student info. Perfect. And we'll put that back so that we don't mess up Dave's tools. This list ID, it's down below here. I think it was Punahou that got that added a couple of years ago. So I think I saw Zach jump in earlier. So Zach, thank you for your team and making it so easy to get that list ID. We used to have to take some weird steps to be able to get that. But I'm going to copy this. And then back in the list itself, I'm going to paste it right here. The list name, I'm going to call it US attendance. I don't want to put anything in the row count or the last run date column. Those are things that are going to populate themselves as we run this. But having done all of these things, it's kind of the moment of truth. We see whether it works. So I'm going to go back into the extensions, app script. I'm just going to say run. And if I've done everything correctly, what it's going to do is go grab that list from Blackbaud, create a new tab with the name that I put in that name column, and then populate all of the information from that list into that tab.
Do you want to run the list real quick and see how many people are on it?
Yes, yeah, good call. So let's do it now. So as we're here, we'll just hit run within core. I've got 4431. And if anyone takes attendance in the next, 3 minutes, maybe that number changes a little bit. But now if we go back into here and choose run, if we've done everything correctly, okay. Again, it's asking for authorization for this script to run. We'll say, yes, we are still Betsy. We'll just say that it can see and feed data to your Google Sheets. It's looking at that list ID. We've got to parse it into 1,000-row chunks just because the Blackbaud API makes us do that. In talking with the Blackbaud team earlier this week, it sounds like they are working on eliminating that piece of functionality, which will make this a lot cleaner and smoother, but may also make set of steps not work perfectly, which is again where I'm going to push you to Nick because he will figure it out and you don't have to think about the code side of it if you work with him. I think this endpoint will still work, but because Blackbaud's constantly enhancing a lot of these things, we just, I'm not a good coder, I'm a good enough coder, and Nick is a fantastic coder. So, working with somebody like him makes this just work. And what this is telling me is that it pulled 1,000-row chunks. We've got that last 431 rows. And if we go back into here, I now that was in that advanced list. I can see the row count ties to what we saw when we ran it in Blackbaud. That last run date, we've got a date and timestamp showing when that ran last. So let's get another list. Let's go get one more. I think part of the real power of this is we don't have to set this up for every list. We set it up once, and then this tool will create new tabs for each of the new lists that we add to this this page. And Nick has done some really cool work also doing similar things with queries in Razor's Edge and Financial Edge. So reach out to him if that is of interest to anybody as well, where basically we can automate those feeds just to dump data into Google Sheets.
You probably just copy that list and filter it for middle school.
Oh, perfect. Let's do that. So now, good call. We're going to create a fresh list and we'll feed that out. So let me go back to lists. We'll get the middle school attendance version. So we'll copy this guy. We're going to adjust our filter for the class year. We set this up in a hurry yesterday.
2030.
Yeah,
That's 8th grade.
All right, we'll get our 8th grade attendance here. And this guy, we'll just call it oops. So we'll save and exit. And then that 8th grade attendance list, I'll just grab that ID. We're going to stick that right back into this paste it, and we'll call it 8 attendance. And then now, if I go back in and run that script again, we'll see it start by getting that first list, the one that we already pulled. You kind of watch that execution log at the bottom.
How many of you are jealous that he's not standing in your office doing this right now?
All right, there we go. So we've got 1,244 rows of 8th grade attendance data that just flowed out here. So now in our live list, we've got this 8th grade version alongside the US version. And then really, this is great. I can run it on demand anytime I want by taking those steps. But I think a lot of the real power is that we can jump back into that app script file and we can set it to run on a schedule. So if I wanted this to run hourly in the background or daily in the background, we set it up, we forget about it every other Tuesday morning. It breaks when other things break on the Blackbaud update side, but then it comes back to life shortly after. So as we jump into the triggers section within the script, we're going to say that we want to add a trigger. The select event type, we're just going to say do it on, hold on, is that right? No, what am I doing? There we go, time driven, I'm sorry. So select event source, we're going to choose time driven. And we'll set this up on the hour timer and hit save. And then what's going to happen is once an hour, it's going to go grab all of the data from all of those lists that are included and feed them out into this sheet. So I haven't hit a limit where it stops working. I've got several instances where I've got 30 plus lists that are feeding through the schedule. Couple things to be mindful of. If you're running this hourly and if you've got some large lists, you're going to use a lot of API calls every time that this refreshes itself. Blackbaud's free tier gives you 25,000 API calls a day. If we're pulling a couple lists hourly or a dozen lists twice a day, no problems at all. But if we start pulling every grade that's ever been recorded and every attendance entry that's ever been recorded hourly, we're going to jump pretty quickly in the number of calls that we're making there and potentially butt up against that 25,000 row limit. So ignore it initially, but eventually you may want to adjust your refresh schedule to take that into account, that you've got a limited number of calls, albeit a large limited number of calls that we can make. When we refreshed this just now, I think we made 8 calls every time this set of lists refreshes, maybe 10. So even doing that hourly, we're at 1/100th of what we're entitled to do in Blackbaud daily. So it takes a lot of lists before you start butting into those limits. And that's, really kind of what we wanted to show and walk through today. I'm going to jump back to my screen. I've seen, I think, 38 questions come through or comments. So I want to open it up to the floor. We can discuss, and then I'll look at how we can take some data from Google Sheets. I'm going to take your answers to the favorite Seinfeld character, and we'll show how we can feed data from Google Sheets into Power BI, and then start, telling interesting stories there. So I'm going to actually, I think I can reclaim host control from over there.
Why don't I do stop share?
Yeah, go for that. That's a good idea. Here we go. I'll replace current share.
Matt, you're on mute.
Can you guys hear me now?
I don't think so.
No. So did I get some nods? Shannon, I think I saw you nodding. You guys are able to hear me? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Betsy muted herself just so we don't have the crazy echo in here. Um, but this is the responses to our session today. I just want to walk through how quickly and painlessly we can feed this information to Power BI. So in your case, you can use the um, tools that we just set up to feed from the Blackbaud list. In this example, I'm just going to literally copy the URL to this Google Sheet. And actually, I'm going to unmute everybody here. Don't make me regret this. If I can figure out how. Um, all right, I'll ask all to unmute. You can unmute if you want to jump in with questions or thoughts at any point. So there we go. I've got that URL copied. Power BI is Microsoft's data visualization software, and it just lets us take data from, for years, I've been using the older legacy on API where I could just feed advanced list data through that into Power BI. I've also used the direct connector to Razor's Edge and the connector to the Financial Edge, but I've found that these Google Sheets tools are just infinitely better in a lot of different ways for getting a lot of good data to flow. So what I'm going to say here within Power BI, I'm going to go to Get Data. I'm going to choose More. Power BI Desktop is totally free, so there's no cost to download and install it on a Windows machine. I guess that's an important caveat is we can only install this on a Windows machine. My source, I'm going to choose Sheets. I'm going to connect to Google Sheets. And then it's going to ask me, all right, what sheet do you want to connect to? So I'm just going to paste that right here. I'll say OK. It's going to make sure that I actually have access to that Google Sheet. So it's going to pop up with the authentication. There we go. Actually, I tested this earlier and it didn't prompt, but it wouldn't let you go grab data from anybody's Google Sheet. It's only sheets that you have access to that it can potentially pull from. So I'm going to go to that form responses. Anytime I'm using Google Sheets as a source, I'm going to say transform data. And what that's going to do is say, all right, there's all this info out here. What do you want to do with it? What is this info? I'm going to tell it that I want to use my first row as headers, just to kind of take the timestamp and the names and emails and all those things to the top row. And then if we're pulling from a Google Sheet, generally Power BI is really good at recognizing the column types. So it recognized that timestamp of when people submitted as a date. And then we've got the rest of that information. Looks like it's mostly text information. So we've got this data flowing. I'm going to close and apply, and that's going to make this data set available for me to start doing some cool Power BI stuff with it. And it should, there we go. Yep, it's loading in the background. I'm going to pull up the comments section and just kind of see what type of questions people had. Actually, we'll do that in just a minute. But now within Power BI, we're feeding that data directly from the Google Sheet into Power BI. I can look at that table and I can see that we've got all of that information from that Google Sheet feeding in as a set of tools that I can use. So let's just see who was everyone's favorite character, and what type of questions are asked by the people whose favorite character was Kramer versus anybody else. So I'm going to build a little matrix in Power BI, and I'm going to tell it to just give me a count of the users who had each of these characters. I saw some putties that made me happy to see putty listed as somebody's favorite character. Um, I'll tell it to give a distinct count of the number of users. So I don't want the first. I want a distinct count. And then we'll see who everyone loved. All right, Elaine is our winner, followed by Kramer, Jerry, and George in distant third and fourth. And then we've got a whole bunch of other responses here as well. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's see, of those people who said Elaine was their favorite character, what were some of the questions that they had or the comments that they made in that Google Sheet? We can build a little table and say, give me the use cases and the specific questions. And I'll look at the putty side of things. So the interesting use case for the person who selected putty was weekly attendance reporting, tracking contracts during enrollment season, tracking student course enrollments, especially during the course change window. Those are all things that I have built with schools probably dozens of times. I spend almost all of my time building these types of tools. If anybody wants some help getting started in Power BI, or even just say, hey, Matt, go build this and tell me when it's done, reach out. I'm thrilled to jump in and work with people on these types of things. But let's see if, the Elaine questions are different. Um, so billing management, yeah, can confirm that the billing management, that's probably Seth, I'd imagine, that asked that question. The billing management endpoints are not available right now, but I'm hopeful that with the work that Stephen and Jesse are doing on developing the endpoints, once the Sky lists are available, which it sounds like is coming soon, Stephen confirmed that earlier this week, we may be able to leverage some of that data from the billing management side of things. And I just wanted to really quickly get into some of that. I'm going to jump into the chat, and you guys, please unmute yourselves if anybody has questions or wants to uh, chat. Okay, we hear you. We hear you. Yes, yes. Good, 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 good. Let's see what else. Transcribing, good. Present at BBCon next year. Nick has done some really cool presentations at BBCon with this. Actually, Nick and I presented the Razor's Edge Financial Edge tools that we built a few months ago at the last BBCon. I'm not going to make the user conference next summer, but somebody should run with it. Nick, maybe you can take and run with this again, just because it's such a cool set of tools. Um, Anybody want to jump in with questions? Are you able to unmute yourself? Sorry, with that many people, I just wanted to make sure. Actually, do I have mine muted? Maybe that's the issue.
Someone asked, how do you get the Sky subscription number?
How do you get the Sky subscription?
Get to the Sky subscription
Yeah,
number.
absolutely. So that Sky subscription piece, let me just jump into my Sky developer account. It's going to be the ID. Well, two things. So we need the ID from the app itself and the secret from the app itself. And then we need our own Sky developer account ID. So the two items that are from the application. Oh, it's going to prompt me to sign in. It's me. There were several questions in the sheet. So I looked over the questions in that Google Feed. I'll send a more detailed follow-up to everyone who attended, trying to answer as many of those as possible. But people asked if the same types of things can be used on the finance and development side. The answer is yes. So on that one, I'm not even going to try to show you guys the steps to do it. Just go talk to Nick. He's got some tools that just work perfectly in enabling us to get those data flows working. Here's my advanced list feed. It's going to be this client ID, the application ID from the top, and then the primary application secret are the two entries that you'll need. And then also from your developer account, if you go to your subscriptions, it is going to be this primary access key, or you could use the secondary access key. But those are those three data points that you'll need to feed that information out.
That it's so different lists run at different times, or is it best to have multiple sheets, one for hourly, one for those that are weekly?
Really, really good question. So Betsy shared a question that somebody had asked, can you set different refresh schedules or cycles for different sheets? The way that I've got the code written now, no. Everything is either all at once or, well, everything is all at the same time. you could very easily create two separate sheets and set timers on one versus the other. I'm hoping that I'm wrong and that somebody's going to tell me that I'm wrong and that you can teach me how to do that. But in the current setup that I have right now, everything refreshes on the same refresh cycle. Looking through. And yes, so I think I'm recording. I'm hoping the audio is picking up as well. My plan is to share this out after the fact. Um, there was a question, do you mind showing us where to find the data to replace one more time? Um, that may be, I think that's referring to that initial email that I'd sent out. I had an extra space. I think it was line 35 or 38 in there. If you use that link to document in the meeting invite, it's been corrected there so that we can copy and paste that directly. OAuth 2 is not defined. I'm guessing that OAuth 2 not defined error is most likely you need to make sure that library is added to that original file using that embedded code in the script itself. I think it's line 4. You can grab that ID and add that as a library. Good question. Can everyone in the marketplace see that app or just us at Ashley Hall? I mean, in theory, if somebody had the script ID, they could see that the app exists, but Betsy would have to approve anybody who wanted to jump on and use it. For Magnus or for other vendors that use the Sky API, they probably have an app that's got, tens or hundreds of schools using the same app. In this case, I like to have just a single school using it. I'd played with setting up an app and then having a bunch of users come in, but you pretty quickly bump into the API call limits when we're doing that. So if you are able to set up the app on your own, then there's a million different directions you can go with it. Um, yeah, the no more pagination. Yes, John, I'm right there with you. I'm want to make sure I totally understood that from Stephen. So wait until Blackbaud actually announces that, but it sounds like they're following the same tools that the Razor's Edge and Financial Edge query are using in enabling you to pull the full list in its entirety rather than 1,000 rows at a time through Sky.
Posted in.
All right, cool. Uh, Where's
Download
Veronica?
file.
Why is it
And the file
preventing me
would
from
have
saving the
all of the
edit
rows.
redirect
It's
URLs?
analogous to
Save
the.
button is grayed out.
Oh, Stephen, I'm sorry. Is that you?
Sorry, yeah.
There you go.
The new endpoints are intended to get all of the data at once, as Matt was saying. They follow the same methods that RE is using for its query API. So you basically get a downloadable file that has all of the data at once, and so you don't have the pagination. You have a secure URI address that you would use to download the file, which expires in 15 minutes. And the other thing is you can control the format that it's generated in. It can be the original JSON format, or you can deliver it in CSV format right out of the gate. So you don't even have to transform it.
That's awesome. So I cannot wait to get my hands dirty playing with that. Stephen, will the
Yeah.
existing list endpoints continue to work, or is that
Yeah,
a
they'll still be there. We've got a long-term plan of organizing our APIs, more coherently. So we've created an education core API. These endpoints are going to start out being probably the signature endpoints for the education core API until we fill it out more. But that legacy stuff will still be available for as long as school API is available.
Okay? Awesome. There were
And
also
you
some
mentioned
questions.
you mentioned
Oh,
the Sky list. I wanted to mention that as well. Right out of the gate, we're going to basically making the advanced lists the first thing available, but we're quickly going to follow on. And this particular technique will allow us to do Sky lists, whereas the existing API technique, the way it's done, technically didn't allow us to do that. So it's going to be a big win there. I know that that's been a huge request over the years, and so I'm really excited to get that out as well because I also feel like it will address a lot of pain points and give a lot of extra capability that wasn't there before.
Absolutely. And one more thing, several people, I sent out the meeting invite here on the on register listserv, but with such a big response, I sent it on a couple others as well. Had about a half dozen Veracross schools say, hey, can we do the same types of things with Veracross data? The short answer is yes, but using Veracross data, you've got to pay annually for their data packages tool set, which is a add-on, where on the Blackbaud side, this is free as a part of your end user on the API side. And even if you were to, go the Blackbaud route, pull Nick in, it's still going to cost a fraction of what you would be paying annually for the Veracross access to then be able to set up these tools on your own after the fact. But the short answer is yes, I've worked with several Veracross schools to do exactly the same type of reporting where we are leveraging the data packages tools. Any other questions? I know we're getting close on time, but if anyone's got anything, I'd love to.
The question Veronica asked, why is it grayed out? Edit and redirect URLs?
Okay.
Too specific.
So Veronica, let me see. Why is the person? Hello, Veronica. Haven't talked in years, but good to connect. I think I saw you were putty. I think I saw that. Preventing me from saving the edit redirect URLs. Okay. Let's take a quick peek. In the, I think I've seen that before. In the actual app itself, is that where you're bumping into it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's nice.
So let's look at this guy. Try going out and coming back in. I feel like Nick and I ran into this a while ago when we were working on something together. If you click that edit, yeah, I've definitely seen that happen. I don't know why, but if you go out and come back in, it should enable you to plug that in. Because I'm still able to do it from here. I mean, I can't imagine any permission settings that it would be. But reach out if it doesn't work and we can hop on a quick Zoom and we'll get it figured out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. I'll send a follow-up email with a link to the recording, and please reach out. This is what I do all day, every day, is help schools with the reporting on this side of data. I'd be thrilled to connect with anyone who wants some help with any of these things. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks.